I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. Please follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, hit that bell icon so you can be notified when we have a new show. You can go to our website, www.manlistenshow.com. You can listen to old episodes. You can find us anywhere. You can listen to a podcast. Make sure you tell everybody about us. Make sure you share the show and let everybody know about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Marv B. Let's bring the crew in. All right, we down one soldier. Shout out to C. We'll catch you next time. But I've said it on the show plenty of times, man. I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth. I live in the Metroplex. And over the weekend, I got a text. We got a group text for the podcast, and the Rico hit me up and was like, "Marv, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, why you ask?" And it didn't dawn on me that news is going throughout the country and the world that there was another mass shooting here in the Metroplex. And I think it speaks to how often these things happen, because I saw it, right? And I saw, okay, it's in Allen, and people who are familiar with, if you're not familiar with the Metroplex, from where I live, that's about 45 minutes to 50 minutes away from me. And, the Metroplex is big, so you can really be, say you live in Dallas, but be an hour away from something that occurs. So I saw it, and then it was kind of like, oh, it's another one. And then didn't even think that if people were seeing on the news, Dallas mass shooting, that my people who care about me will want to know, are you okay? So I think it just speaks to like how desensitized some of us have become to this, because we see it all the time. And it's just another situation where I don't know. I've become somewhat hopeless in thinking that this country will ever do anything to put any measures in place to prevent stuff like this from happening. There was children who were murdered at this shooting. One of our frat brothers, me and Lav, one of our frat brothers was seriously injured and wounded in this shooting. And it's just ridiculous. It's getting old, but what do y'all think? Am I the only one that seems like, this country will never do anything to stop this? After they killed those babies down in Uvalde, I knew that, okay, they really not going to do anything about this. It is sick. But what y'all think?
I mean, especially not in Texas, for sure. They love their guns in Texas. But I mean, at this point, like you said, it's almost sad to even admit that you've become a little desensitized to it, because it seems like it's one not every day, but every other couple of days or something like that. And then it's like the first time, like you said, when it was children, you were like, man, but then it's like now it's like children be primary targets these days. So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to take to make America enact some stricter gun laws, but you would think by now that with the people that we've elected to represent us in Congress would have this at the forefront of their, discussion, as opposed to sending more money to the Ukraine. But what do I know?
I don't even think it calls for like extensive funding,
right?
To put something into place to stop this stuff, or at least curb it. I mean, the rate that we see these incidents, it's just ridiculous. And, I was talking about it with some people today, and there's some folks who were like, I don't go anywhere unless there's metal detectors. I don't want to go to the beach. I don't want to go anywhere where there's no sort of protection or some shape or form of security in place, because you just don't know what's happening. And think about how sad that is. Think about how sad that is. You got children going to mistakenly knocking on the door, thinking they're somewhere else instead of just saying, "Oh no, wrong house." You got folks shooting. You got folks shooting them. So we become a gun happy, trigger happy society. And it's just a lot of it is sparked by racism too. Because
Oh yeah.
this guy that was doing the shooting up in Allen, Texas, he has some racist viewpoints as well. So a lot of that is based on that. But Lab, I'll let you jump in, man.
Yeah, no, you hit the nail on the head with the racist part, but I think to me, it all goes back to how the courts have chosen to interpret the Second Amendment. And so as long as they interpret it the way they interpret it, there's really nothing that can be done. You can make a law saying you have to go through a background check or what have you, but most people are going to pass that background check, because a lot of these people, this is, they've researched these things, they wanted to do something, but they're not, most of them aren't like career criminals that are going and have a long list of felonies on their record that would, not allow them to get a gun. So, with the way the Second Amendment is interpreted and everybody basically has access to guns, there's really nothing that can be done. In addition to that, the number of guns on the street right now is the people that want to do some damage, they're going to do some damage.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I don't necessarily disagree. I think that there are some things that our government can do. I think that if we put in laws or some sort of restrictions that penalize the people that sell the guns, because you talked about Texas. I live in Texas. You go to those gun shows. It's so easy to buy a damn gun. Like if you got a concealed carry, it's really easy. And if you don't, all you gotta do is just show your license, and they'll fill out some paperwork. And because they want to sell you the gun, they'll tell you, no, it's your right. You can do this, and they'll walk you through it because they want to make that sale. They're making money hand over fist. If you come to Texas, every other week there's a gun show. Every other week there's a gun show. You go to Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, El Paso, whatever. Yeah, literally like 2 gun shows every month. You'll see the billboard. They'll be in a different place, but you can go and you can buy a gun. So I think if there is some sort of way, and Enrique, you can speak to this because you're the attorney, if there's some sort of way to hold the people who sell the guns liable, maybe that's a way to curb it, or maybe to hold the manufacturers liable. Maybe that's a way to curb it. I don't know. That's a reach, but I just think that there's something to do. And there's also somebody else said if all Black people started applying for their concealed handgun licenses like in droves and saying we're going to carry guns, they'll put some laws into place. If all those Black folks say we want guns, they'll put some laws into place real quick. But Rico, what you think?
I don't know, like you said, it'll be real hard to do, but maybe even just forcing them to have insurance. So if they sold a gun that was used in a mass shooting, keeping insurance like that would be expensive, and they think twice about who they, sold to if it was going to come back on them in any type of way. So I think maybe,
And that's
I
easy
mean, we
to
need to
do.
do something.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's easy to do. I mean, look at like if somebody gets drunk, say you're at a bar and you get drunk and then you leave and you kill somebody in a DUI, right? You can hold that bar liable. The bar is like, nah, man, you had too much. We're not going to serve you anymore. And they're really, and most bar owners, they're cognizant of that. They're like, I don't want you going and hurting somebody because that's going to come back on me. So it definitely can happen. I'm sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, yeah. But the problem is not whether or not it's feasible. The problem is getting it agreed to by the powers that be to even make laws like that, because they don't want to. I mean, the NRA is one of the biggest, people, influencers down there, lobbyists, yeah, in the government, and they got their hands in everybody's pocket. That's why I say really the best way to get change enacted in this country is to get rid of everybody in Congress. Make them all start over 2-year terms, no way you should be in there making friends and deals for 50 years and then people owe you favors for the rest of your life. So you get to just do whatever you want to do. If they was in there for 2 years, they would get in there, stand on their principles and move on. But instead, we got this system that basically encourages people to, like, if I want to get something done, I've got to make friends with other people to get them to agree with it. So now you basically forcing people into making these backroom deals and, shady agreements and whatnot just to move forward whatever their personal agenda is. And then here we are, corrupt America. So I think that it's something that should be done, that we could do, but getting people to vote on it and agree to it, I think that's going to be too difficult.
I know you're feeling the show, but picture your ad right here. If you want to advertise with us, hit up the link in our bio and we'll get you on the show.
And I think it's a plan. I think it's a design, because if you look at it, and I hate to be that what about black on black crime guy, or what about Chicago guy, because that's what the Republicans, shout out to C, that's what they love to say, right? But if you just look at, and I made the mistake of messing up my algorithm on YouTube. I watched that King Von serial killer documentary for 3 hours, and now everything that pops up is interviews of these young brothers in Chicago and the drill music and how they're disrespecting each other with gang violence and all that stuff. And how, if you look at it, all these dudes who are making songs going back and forth at each other, all of these young men are now dead. So they killed one's friend got killed, then they made a song disrespecting him over and over and over again. And it's this cycle of death that's hitting this little block in this neighborhood. And then you watch these videos and you're like, oh man, what's this cat? And you're like, damn, he got killed last year, or he got killed 3 years ago, or whatever. So I do think it's somewhat of a design, because how are all these guns getting into Chicago? Because there's not a lot of money in those neighborhoods in Chicago, right? And I think back in the day, they even realized that they were coming from across the border in Indiana. They were shipping them over or what have you. So it's a design, and I think that they're willing to have some friendly fire. And I apologize for that horrible terminology, but they're willing to lose some, as long as they can say, oh, we can keep our guns to protect us in case these Negroes finally get unified. And as long as they continue to kill each other, we're not going to limit it. That's just I put my conspiracy kufi on, and that's what I think.
Yeah, I think you hit on a point, something that common sense gun laws, right? So you talk about licensing and permits. Now you got to have a license to go fishing, right? You got to have a license to fly a drone. You got to have a license to sell lemonade on the corner as a kid nowadays. But you can go and buy a weapon of mass destruction with no license, no vetting process. It's unbelievable. It really is. I think at this point, it's just some people are so ingrained in their position and they think it's cowardice to change your position on something, even though they know that they're wrong. They know change has to be made. They know this is not what the forefathers intended with the Second Amendment. They're so dug into their position, they're not going to change. And, Arika, you made a good point. They're lifelong politicians, and that's what they get paid to do, is to stand on these positions. They take this money from these people who funding these positions. They really, honestly, a lot of them, I guarantee you, don't feel the way the NRA feels. But the NRA is backing them. The NRA is flying them out, like, Clarence Thomas is getting flown out, similar to all these, so they're obligated, and it speaks to the corruption and the problem with American politics right now.
And you brought up Clarence Thomas, and it's coming out more and more how corrupt he is. We already knew so. His wife, I said wife, his Freudian slip, his wife. His wife, we knew she was dirty, right? Now it's coming out that he's more and more linked to taking money and potential bribes or what have you, or being influenced by lobbyists or people who are big time donors. And he's looking more and more shady as the days go by. And I wish there was a way. We talked about on the show before about these lifetime appointments. I wish there was a way to cancel those lifetime appointments, get fools like that up off the bench. But speaking of cancel culture, that's a perfect segue. Did y'all see over the weekend where allegedly Chris Brown and Usher got into an altercation?
Yeah.
Yeah, my friends were there.
What did they see anything?
Well, they didn't tell me if they saw anything, but they said 50 Cent joked about it during his set, and he held no punches as 50 tends to do, and it was pretty hilarious. He talked about the R&B guys are fighting.
My thing is, and Chris Brown, and I said this on social media, I'm an Usher fan. I went to Vegas. I saw Usher's show. I'll put it out there. If you have an opportunity to go to Vegas and see Usher's, what do they call it? What's it called when you
Residency.
Residency. Yeah.
You got an opportunity to go out there to see Usher's residency, please do so. He puts on a phenomenal show. I never really got into Chris Brown. I won't say that he's not talented. I think he's extremely talented. He's an extremely talented dancer, performer. Brother can sing. Obviously, he puts out good music because his fans love it. But he's extremely immature. And he had the situation with Rihanna, right? And there's no condoning, there's no excuses made for putting your hands on a woman. However, there was some information that came to light that she participated in some shape, form, or fashion as well, right? So even though he took his lumps for that, no pun intended, he could have been able to come back and rehab his reputation and, have a redemption story. But this dude continuously does goofy, immature stuff. Like, stalking the chick, what's the girl's name? Karuchi. You get out here and people making allegations that you a colorist. You don't like dark skinned sisters. You only like light skinned sisters. You don't want the dark skinned sisters around. You're a music guy. You're a music guy from Virginia, and you move to California, and then you join the blood gang. Like, who does that? Which really makes me feel like you're just getting extorted because you out there so that you keep other people up off of you. So all those things in consideration, he's just never been a guy that I really cared for. And people said, well, it's not fair to cancel him because, everybody deserves grace. Everybody deserves an opportunity to fix their life. And my only question with this is, how many opportunities does this dude get? Because he continually messes up. So I don't know if it's just me. I mean, hopefully he does finally grow up and does something good with himself, but I can't say that he's being mistreated if folks say they don't want to fool with Chris Brown.
So you hit on a good point. Yeah, I do believe everybody does deserve a second chance. And in most situations, I think, honestly, I probably would give somebody a third chance, right? But beyond that, when it's a continual pattern of behavior, then really it's not canceling somebody. All it is holding them accountable for their actions. And now if they down the line change their actions, I'm still going to be hesitant, but I'm going to be open to letting you, possibly get back in, but then you still got to live that out for a long period of time before I'm even going to consider that.
The bad thing too is that allegedly how the whole fight started is that he was disrespecting Tiana Taylor, a dark-skinned sister. So
I was going to say,
here you go. Basically, you know what I mean? Repeating the same trends, colorism, abuse of women, like that seems to be on par for him at this point.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't matter how great you can sing or how whatever you got going on. Obviously, he's not a great person. And whether that's, you know what I mean, because of whatever he's got going on in his life or whatever. I mean, you don't get a reputation for being physically abusive, for stalking, and for fighting people and then having to be restrained by somebody else and deciding to fight them. Why would somebody have to restrain you from Tiana Taylor at a party? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
And you wait until her husband's not there to do all that stuff.
Exactly. Because, that that he don't play by her. So
that probably would have turned out a whole lot different. Now, I don't know if it's drugs. I know a lot of people said allegedly. I don't want to get sued, but we ain't got no money, y'all. That people say it's the booger sugar. I don't know if it's liquor or whatever, but whatever it is, man, it's clear that he needs an intervention. But I think, Lad, you made a good point. It's not canceling somebody if you're just tired of their antics. Like, but I do feel as if I feel like cancel culture is a good thing. I know that you two probably disagree, but I don't think we as a Black community cancel enough people. I don't feel like it's a problem for us to cancel somebody who is misogynistic, who's a woman beater, and who is known for being a colorist. Like, why are we on the fence on if we want to cancel this type of person?
Mm-hmm.
Not a problem with that. Now, where I think it becomes a gray area is this way: if you want to cancel somebody just because you just don't agree with what they do. So, like Brian McKnight, this story's been going on for a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
Him and his grown kids. So Brian McKnight has 2 grown sons. He has another daughter by another relationship, and then his current wife, he has maybe 1 or 2 children or something like that, and he has some stepchildren. So he has you said 1. So he has a daughter with the current wife, but she has some children as well from previous relationships. So there's stepchildren involved, right? So he gets into it with his two sons, his older sons. And, there's a lot. They're talking about how he's a bad dad. He, abandoned us for his new family. This type of stuff happens when people remarry and what have you. It's a family deal, right? Well, Brian gave his side of the story, and he was like, listen, you can look up all the stuff that I did with my children. I didn't abandon them. They're grown men. I'm establishing firm boundaries. Now, I'm with him with that. It does sound as if his children are somewhat entitled. Now, where I stray away from Brian McKnight, it does seem like he does some petty stuff towards his children. Like naming your new son the same, Brian McKnight, just like you name your oldest son, and then allegedly going to the college campus where your daughter is at, where your stepdaughter is at, and then making a post talking about, you made me a girl dad. And I'm like, wait a minute, she didn't make you a girl dad. Your actual daughter made you a girl dad. So petty stuff like that, I can't rock with. But people are willing just to cancel him because they're disagreeing on how he interacts or how he deals with his children's behaviors. Me personally, because I have grown children and sometimes we don't agree, I know how it is to have entitled children. And I know how it is to be like, you know what? Go do what you want to do, Lil Dirty. And then once we figure it out, we come back. Hell, I probably was an entitled kid at one point in time. And my parents let me rock that shit out, and then you come back. But a lot of people was like, nah, I'm canceling Brian McKnight because of how he did his kids, not even knowing the whole story. So that's the only time when I feel like cancel culture can be somewhat dangerous.
I just don't have time for cancel culture. Like, I'm not really sitting around here, like, changing my life patterns around what some person that I don't even know is doing. Like, I've been listening to 90s R&B all weekend. I'm not about to be like, oh, Brian McKnight, and change the thing. I'm not about to do all that. Nope. Now, I'm going to chuckle on the inside because I saw that meme that talks about Brian McKnight treating his kids. What did he say? Back at 1 when he named Brian McKnight, his new son, Brian McKnight.
That's funny.
Laugh on the inside. He's ridiculous.
You ain't changing the 90s R&B. Okay.
Yeah, but
what about Robert?
I don't change that either.
Okay.
Me neither. I listen to it too.
Yeah.
I'm like toot.
I ain't gonna lie. Now listen. I don't condone what Robert did, but I'm not finna I'm not finna delete him off my playlist. I'm not.
Stop listening to the music. It's not gonna change what he did. Matter of fact, he needs to generate some money to go to the victims. I'm helping.
Man, exactly. You helping the victims every time you playing that.
Are you playing? Yeah.
Maybe these spins will help.
Marv, I think you hit it with the grown children and at what point, and I think it's worse when you're probably a quote unquote celebrity or you're financially well to do. At what point do you pull that away from your kid and say, hey, you gotta do for you. You know, you can't ride my coattail forever, or you can't depend on me forever. And, you know, I mean, it's a balancing act. And there are going to be people that are hurt or, you know, angry when you do that. And then you add to the fact, like you said, you have another family, a younger set of kids, and they're like, well, you giving them all this. Yeah, she's 12. You know what I mean? So I don't know what at what age, you know, do you make that decision where you say, hey, it's all you now?
You know, I also think that there is, when you have social media, a lot of people project their traumas and their emotional issues onto others. And I think if you grow up in somewhat of a healthy family, you understand that things like this take place. And if you are a parent, because I empathize with Brian McKnight, I'm like, well, shit, I'm a dad, and sometimes I feel like my kids are ungrateful, you know. And if you were to ask my children, sometimes they're like, well, shit, dude, sometimes you overbearing and you don't listen. And it's fair. I mean, things happen with families, but you still love one another. But to come out and just say, you know what, I'm gonna cancel him because of what he did. Now, I don't agree with the petty stuff that he does with his children, if that's true. If those things are true, I don't agree with it. But folks out here canceling them, I think they're really just projecting the things that happen to them, like their daddy issues or their lack of having a father issues. They're projecting that on people. Then they're trying to say, okay, because this man took this stance with his children, he needs to be canceled. So that's why I say, I understand when y'all say, you know, cancel culture has its pros and its cons. And a lot of people was like, oh, we're just wrong to cancel. No, we need to cancel a lot of people. We need to cancel Clarence Thomas. I'll say we go ahead and cancel Chris Brown. I feel you, Eureka. I don't really listen to Chris Brown's music. I couldn't even name a Chris Brown song. I think maybe that was that first song he came out with some little teeny bopper song. And
yeah.
I couldn't name it. If you said, hey man, name it, sing a Chris Brown song, I couldn't do it. For $1 million, I couldn't do it off the top of my head.
For $1 million, I can name a song by anybody, probably.
He said, I'm just gonna start piecing some words together.
Name two by Chris Brown.
Run It.
Yeah.
Is that one? Kiss, that shit right there?
No, Run It, I think was the one you was talking about. That's like the first one. And then honestly, I don't know the names of the song, but I know his songs, you know.
Nah, the one that he came out first was it Excuse Me, Miss? That very first one he was.
Oh man, that was him, wasn't it? Okay, yeah.
That's when he was like the little teeny bopper dude.
Yeah,
Nice little image, whatever. Then he just turned into straight up creep.
Yeah.
I mean, money will do that to people.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time, you know, all my friends know I love to sing. I sing loud. I don't know the lyrics to songs, obviously, and that don't stop me from singing. And that's why God didn't bless me with the ability to sing. Because if he did, I would be David Ruffin. I'd be snorting coke off chicks' breasts.
Showing up late.
It'd be sex, drugs, and rock and roll. If Marvin
everybody come to see you, Otis.
Right. And listen, nobody would have nothing on me. Casey and JoJo, they'd be like, damn, there's some choir boys next to Marv. I'm telling you. Hey.
Bobby Brown.
Oh, listen, hey, the king of R&B. Shout out to King of R&B. People give Bobby a hard time, but Bobby been through a lot.
I love Bobby Brown.
I love Bobby, man.
He'll play that album.
Bobby been through a lot, man. First of all, he put out good music.
Yeah.
He didn't lose one. He lost 2 children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's still out here trying to do his thing, trying to live his life, be better day by day. Folks need to leave the king of R&B alone.
For sure.
They do. So
it's what Jacquees?
No, it ain't no damn Jacquees, man.
Oh, okay.
Now that's the person whose song I could name with a gun to my head.
I like Jacquees. I don't know his music. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I know his voice though. I know Jacquees' voice.
Yeah, I know when it's him. Don't ask me to start it.
He got some decent cuss though. But
Yeah.
I'm an R&B lovey-dovey type dude though.
Mhm.
So if you make music like that, I'm gonna rock with you. I'm gonna rock with you. Yeah.
Yeah. You like what you see, don't you? I know you do. You too can be fly like me and the rest of the Man Listen crew. Grab this merch, check out our link in our bio. Drip.
But I don't know. Cancel culture, man, it's a good thing for me. I think we need to implement some sort of standards and codes and live by those in this community.
But
I
how you gonna
mean,
cancel Clarence Thomas? How you gonna cancel him? What you gonna change about your everyday
Yeah,
activities? Just
there's
gonna
nothing you
cancel
can do to
Clarence
cancel
Thomas?
him.
yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Because you wasn't messing with him anyway. You know what I mean? Like,
We was never rocking with this dude. This dude lost our respect back at the
That need a hill trial.
Nita Hill
yeah.
trial.
Absolutely. No, you're right. But again, there's so many other cases that we can.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
And what I'm talking about, we need to establish some rules and codes and guidelines for our community. And I wish C was on the show. So
I knew you was about to pick on her.
no. Because C would co-sign me on this. For real. Because me and her always talk about this. What's that white boy's name? Ed is it Sheehan or
Sharon.
Ed whatever, right?
Sharon, yeah.
So he just won a case where the family of one of the writers for Marvin Gaye's song "Let's Get It On" sued him because one of his most popular songs was eerily similar to "Let's Get It On." At first, I didn't really hear it, but then I said, "Oh yeah, I hear it." He changed up some of the keys, some of the and like the pace of it all, and he won. He won the case. He activated his whiteness and was talking about, if I lose, I'll never perform music again and all this old shit or whatever, right? There was this black man, and I can't remember his name. He was a writer. I think he wrote with Quincy Jones, and he's got a extensive catalog. So when the verdict came through, he put an Instagram out, a reel out, where he broke down how the two songs were different and how this was a win for musical writers and a win for Ed Sheehan, right? And while he was talking about it, he was like, yeah, this is different. Yeah, the melody and the pace is the same, but so are a million other songs. And I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? That's the whole point right there. And then what really got me pissed off was, why are you as a black man trying to build a case for somebody outside of the community? Why are you trying to get in the way of some black people getting paid when these folks have been stealing from us forever? And even if you agreed that the songs weren't the same, I wish he was here, because you know what we would say. Just be quiet.
Yeah.
Just be quiet. Because you never see them go. You very rarely see them going hard in the paint for us. Very rarely. Now, I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, but very rarely does it happen. And I just don't understand why we feel so compelled to try to block for people who have no goodwill, no good intentions for us. So that's why we need some rules and guidelines. To me, that dude needs to be excommunicated. We need to go ahead and just cut him off, man.
Well, the only
I don't
thing
even know who this dude is.
Right, exactly. I don't know who dude is either. But what I'm saying is there's varying levels on that, because shoot, who knows? I mean, that dude could have wrote songs for Ed Sheeran, so he's financially linked to him. So that it kind of goes back to, you got to follow the money in a lot of this stuff, man. And so I think a lot of people, I would say the majority of people would, I'm not gonna say sell out the black community, but if their livelihood was on the line, I think a lot of people would take the financial gain as opposed to
standing on principle,
standing strong with the black community. Because guess what? They don't believe in cancel culture. So I can say this, and I'll still be back in their good graces.
Yeah, I think most people say they're about cancel culture, but they're really not about the actions behind it to actually make it have an impact. So it's just, to me, it's just perfunctory and unnecessary. for the most part. There's some people who I think stand on it. Like some people really boycotted the NFL, and
Yeah.
I commend them for that. But most people, they was lying. Them
Oh,
ratings
for
was
sure, for sure,
lying.
for
Like,
sure.
them-
Watch
Well,
tomorrow.
you know I did because y'all talked about me bad for the 2.5 years or so that I boycotted. You know, yeah. So it can happen. It can
it
happen.
can. It just doesn't usually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People are all about lip service. They're not about actually standing on the principle or backing their words with actions.
And it's worse, in my opinion, with social media because people get on there and be like, "Oh yeah, riled up," knowing they really don't care about the issue at hand. It's just everybody else posts this on their Facebook, or everybody else posts tribute to somebody on Instagram, and all of a sudden that's the biggest story going, and they feel compelled to do the same. But at the end of the day, they really don't even care, don't even know, never even heard about the issue until they saw 22 of their friends post something about it. Never even were checking for that.
Right. Then here come the Twitter fingers.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think there's some people who are genuine.
Yeah, there are some.
There are, and I would like to believe that there are more people who are willing to put it on the line than not. I think what happens most of the time, and you all pointed it out on this show, is what can you really do to cancel a person like Clarence Thomas or a Chris Brown or somebody? You can stop going to Chris Brown shows, right? The thing that's sad to me is that we seem to be quick to cancel people in our community, even if they deserve it. Because like I told y'all, I don't think we cancel enough people. There's people who do inside the Black community that do harm to the Black community that deserve to be canceled. But we see so many people be forgiving, understanding of people outside the community that want to do us harm. Just like that announcer for the Open A's. He come out here, he was in Kansas City talking about the Negro League Museum and the barbecue. First of all, shout out to C. You know, he made a mistake by saying, well, I ain't gonna do that because it's another black-owned barbecue spot. So
Not anymore, but yeah.
It's not no more?
Nope.
It's not owned by Black people no more?
Mm-mm.
For sure?
100% sure.
He said, "I have it."
He made a mistake talking about Arthur Bryant's and not Gates. You know what I'm saying? Number one. And then number two, instead of saying the Negro League Museum, he said the N-word League Museum, and he actually said the word.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what happens is you got the president of the Negro League Museum talking about, I forgive him and I want to be forgiving. And we've talked.
Why does he have to forgive him? What is it?
What are you getting out of it? Are you going?
Yeah.
So what makes me think, are you getting a donation from the A's or something? You're gonna
I didn't think about that.
Stroke a check to the Negro League Museum because you know they need money to keep it going, right? So and probably that's what it is. Just like the racist white boys in Oklahoma, the frat boys were saying the N-word, and then you see all them pastors come and say, "Oh, we surround them and we forgive them and we turn the other cheek." They probably got a nice little check stroke to the church. So everybody's got a price. Everybody can be bought. It's just sometimes, man, you got to stand on some principle, whatever. And that was really disappointing. And so my whole point is, we quick to cancel each other, but like cats like that, like we need to be like, yo, the A's broadcast team, whatever network pays this guy's salary, that he needs to be gone, and we need to come together. But we can't do that as Black people because we got too many people talking about let's forgive. They don't forgive us.
Sure don't.
They tried to end Kyrie.
Yeah. that was the most laughable thing ever, man.
They tried to end Kyrie.
Over opinions.
And I just saw somebody talk about Mike Greenberg talking about the Lakers need to rest their starters because they're probably not going to win Game 5 anyway. And people were talking about this. I said, why are we even listening to Greenberg anyway? When he made the remark talking about Martin Luther King Day, even though he said it was a mistake. Nah, that's the stuff that white boys say all the time, that Martin Luther King stuff. So
like that's not even a natural slip up from King to Coon, but that's the one word when they slip up in King, that's why is it automatically Coon?
That's the one word I want to say.
That's the one word that takes his place. Or instead of Negro, why is the N-word the one word to take his place? It's not nothing else, you know.
When Kyrie shared a clip to a video He shared a link to a video, and he went and y'all tried to end him, take his money, mess up his whole career and all that. Nah, man. And that's why I say some of us are way too forgiving for people who are not forgiving to us.
At all.
Mm-hmm.
And if I had one word for our people before we leave, don't show them no mercy, because they will not show you any.
Mm-hmm.
At all. But anyway, I think we talked about it enough. Make sure y'all follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at manlistenshow. Subscribe to our show on YouTube. Hey, we need some more followers, man. Let's get us up to 400. We passed our first goal of 300. We're getting close to 400. We want to be at 500 before the end of the year. So we need y'all's help doing that. Tell about 3 friends. If you get each one of our followers tells 3 friends, I don't know the math, but we should be able to get close to that. So yeah, make it happen.
It'll be close. It'll be close.
It'll be close, right? It'll be close.
Yeah,
anyway, I think that's all we need to say. We'll have you next time. Peace.
Yeah.
Peace. Bye, Steve.
Hey, but straight up, cancel culture. Cancel them student loans, Joe.
Do your job, man.
They talking about Joe don't want a campaign. Joe was like, shit, listen, I'm playing with the lead. Let me not get out here and stutter.
Yeah.
What did Trump call Sleepy Joe?